I'm Gergana Mantarkova, a board member of ICMCI, and one of my responsibilities is to lead the Future of Management Consultancy initiative. So I'm delighted to report to you today that we are launching the ICMCI Future Leaders Forum as part of that initiative, with the purpose to engage younger colleagues in the decision-making on the global level about the future of the profession, but also help them grow. So I'm delighted also to be the moderator for this session. We have, as you see, an amazing panel of young management consulting leaders from around the globe who would share their insights and aspirations about the market and the profession. Our goal is that whenever you are in your career path, at the end of the session, you would go with, you will come away with something new, a new idea, fresh perspective, something which you will also change and apply in your own business. But before we proceed, I would like to draw your attention on an important administrative matter or housekeeping matter. In the chat, you would receive the evaluation form for the session. Please bear in mind that it is one evaluation form for all sessions, so fill it once you end up your last session. And CPT certifications will be provided only to those who would fill in the form. So going back to the agenda, first we will take a few moments for each of the panelists to briefly introduce themselves and tell us what they like most about being a management consultant. Then we'll start a discussion about market trends and how management consulting is evolving in this new world. And we will, of course, take questions at the end. So let's get started with the panel introductions. We will follow the rule ladies first. And I would like to invite Karme from Finland, who is now in Switzerland, to start with her introduction. Tina. Tina maybe has some issues. So let us go south. And I would ask Bernhard Reingruber from Austria to make the introduction.
Great, thank you, Gergana. And south from Switzerland or from Finland?
She's from Finland, but right now she's in Switzerland. She would tell us why.
Oh, but she's back. So
she's back. Okay, Tina, would you like to introduce yourself first? Ladies first.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Sorry. Yeah. So I'm Tina Karme, and I know even though your mother is a doctor, it doesn't qualify you as a doctor, but I have the privilege of having a father who has a 30-year management consulting career in the background. So I guess that management consultant has been a part of my life ever since I was born. And I've taken the track of sustainability, not only because it's a wonderful challenge, but also because I think that it is really inspirational. And there are in a different way. And I'm really sad that most of the time we only talk about the challenges and we talk about the disruption of the world and how like the future is so terrible for all of us, because I see that we are actually at a pivotal moment where we can create something completely new, something that hasn't been there before. And in my opinion, management consultants have the privilege of seeing many aspects of this. So as we work with many different people, many different companies in this forum, we come from all places of the world. We have a unique opportunity to inspire each other through bringing together these fragments of knowledge that are already out there. And just kind of like one thing that I've come to notice and why
Okay, maybe Tina will continue later. Sorry about this technical problem, but Bernhard, would you like to introduce yourself, please? And don't forget the question, what you like most about being a management consultant.
Yes, of course. I won't forget. Thank you, Gergana. And warm welcome from my side as well. I'm glad to be here. My name is Bernhard Reingruber, and I'm a management consultant from Austria. But next to doing management consulting, I focus mainly on leadership development and on the combination with something that grew very dear to me over the last few years. I'm also a certified trainer for radical honesty. And that is what I combine with conscious leadership and adaptive leadership, to be specific. And that's exciting in itself. So I'm quite passionate about doing that. I believe that as management consultants and as people who work with leaders, basically, and to me, by the way, basically everybody in an organization is potentially a leader. So to me, leadership is not so much about the position you take, but about the actions you take. So it's action and not position. So working with these multipliers, basically, and working in organizations gives us, or gives me, the unique opportunity to actually change something in a world that desperately cries for change in certain areas. And to me, that very often has to do with vulnerability, with trust, with what people sometimes call the soft skills. And I absolutely dislike the idea of soft skills. I call them human skills, as Simon Sinek does as well. Human skills that we need to maneuver in the workplace. And just one maybe piece of insight, like I derive a lot of ideas also from psychology, especially in this case, developmental psychology. Robert Keegan, maybe some of you have heard about him. And he wrote an amazing book highlighting some of the core common characteristics of organizations who actually learn, who are actually learning organizations. I mean, learning organizations, the term has been around since the 90s, I believe. And still we are questioning, like, how come that some organizations still are not learning organizations? So what he wrote about, and his colleagues, is basically that in most organizations, people have a second job that nobody is paying them for. And the second job that most people are doing that nobody is paying them for is hiding their weaknesses, pretending to be better than they are, trying to manage impressions, doing corporate politics, all those things, where what all of us know, basically, and none of us, or not none, but rarely we dare to look at it directly. And that's what I'm passionate about, and that's the lever I think that we have as management consultants, if we see organizations more as potentially institutions of adult development rather than just basically places where we go to do the tedious work that we have to do every day. So yeah, that's what excites me, to bring more organizations on a journey of actual learning and honesty. And that requires vulnerability and all those uncomfortable things as well. And I'm sure, and I believe truly that it's worth it. So yeah, that's my take.
It's a very interesting angle I never thought about.
Yeah.
But if we continue the journey down to south and go to South Africa, and let us meet with Brent Badenhorst. Brent, introduce
Hi
yourself.
guys, yes, Brent Bardenos from Cape Town, South Africa. I'm a business coach accredited with the ICMCI, which is an affiliate with the ICMCI. And basically, interesting question from Gergana, what do I like about consulting? And it only struck me this year. I've been doing it since 2018, helping people start or grow a business. And what I discovered this year is it's such an incredible privilege to have the responsibility to assist somebody to either start a business or to grow a business. And especially in South Africa, we're sitting with a lot of poverty issues and a lot of unemployment issues. And if I think about it in that light, you're helping somebody put food on the table, for himself, his family, as well as employ a couple of people, and that really changes their lives. So I've changed that perspective earlier this year when I had a client that went through one of my incubation programs, and closely to the end of the incubation program, we had a session and I could see she was like, there was something beneath that was ready to come out and it wasn't good. And I had a chat with her and she started crying. And she told me that her husband lost his job. She couldn't pay herself a salary last month. They've got kids and things are going really tough. So you sit there on the other side of the screen while the other person's breaking down on the other side of the screen, and there's not a lot you can do. But I realized in that moment, like, I'm literally this lady's last resort. That's it. If whatever I'm teaching her to start a business or to grow a business from good to great is not working for her, she's out of answers. And that was a moment of big pressure for me, where I realized, like, yes, this is real. This isn't just making money, or this person actually came to me for answers. But went through the program as I've set it up, and I backed that program on 120%. And 6 months down the line, she told me 2 months ago she could pay a salary for the first time in years. She could pay a full salary. She has grown a team to almost like 10 employees in a couple of months. And just in a 2-week space the other day, she sent out a lot of quotes. And for me, that was an incredible moment where I felt so relieved that I could help the lady in the moment of trouble, because ultimately life is real, struggles are real, and the people come to you for answers. So that's in a nutshell what really excites me about what I'm doing.
Okay, thank you, Bernhard. If we continue our journey, our next stop will be in a country often called the land down under. So Daniel, it must be very late with you, but what's going on in Australia?
Yes, good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone from across the globe. I can see a few Australians on here, which is good, even later nights than me. I don't know if there's anyone from New Zealand. But yeah, so I'm Daniel. I'm a civil structural engineer by my background, and I've spent 5 years in construction and design, and then 5 years ago made the move to management consulting, still in civil infrastructure and infrastructure more broadly. And really the reason why I decided to shift across to management consulting and what got me quite passionate about it was that I found from an engineering technical background that I would get lost often in a very niche particular part of a design process or a final design, and I'd have very little ability to impact on the future or actually make changes to what the outcome was going to be and contribute to what I see as value. And so I decided that by becoming a management consultant, I could move further up the life cycle chain for projects and businesses and start getting into that strategic level whereby I actually had a chance to help shape the future and set the direction of whether it's clients or private businesses or whoever it may be actually wants to achieve. And one of my pet peeves in doing that is waste in all forms, whether it's actual generation of solid waste or whether it's waste in duplicated effort through processes or procedures or policies, whatever it may be. I always get caught up on chasing down a more efficient or more effective way of doing things, or just generally trying to be more sustainable and eliminate the actual solid waste. So they're my sort of drivers for being a management consultant. I try to do that with most of my clients. So.
Okay, great. Thank you, Daniel. And now we would leave the Southern Hemisphere and we'll go up to Canada. So welcome, Chris.
Hi, Gergana. Hi. Nice to see some familiar names with us today. Hi, Lydia. I hope things are well where you are. Soren and everyone. My name is Chris Harper. I am in Canada. There is no snow here. Unlike the popular speak that you might hear, it's actually still quite warm. But welcome. I've been in management consulting for part of my career, but I actually started my career in human resources and labor relations, where I was always asking the question, why are we doing it this way? why don't we do it this way? Why don't we use Microsoft Excel and macros and these other technologies at the time that were, very common to improve our work processes? And that began the journey of this human resources guy becoming a technology guy. And so I started implementing systems with Microsoft through their partner network to enable organizations to become more digital, to, like Danielle was saying, to become more efficient, right? Eliminate the waste through the use of technology and how it enables. And so that led me to my current role where I oversee a North American practice, although we have recently landed some work in the EMEA. So we're getting a little bit closer to Austria and the rest of you over there. We're still really far away from you though, Daniel. So we're starting to grow, and technology has always been part of my life. And I think when it comes to management consulting, technology is now definitely a part of our life, right? This is becoming almost like how finance is the language of business. So too is technology becoming the language of business. And I'm very passionate about helping clients and helping communities. So I've worked with not-for-profits as well, to leverage technology to magnify the impact and the outcomes that they're trying to drive, whether it's social impact, business impact from a revenue perspective. And so I see technology as being part of the way we do things. I've seen, from COVID, I hate to bring up the C word, but from COVID, how COVID has forced so many of us that were maybe a little bit behind on technology to catch up. And for example, in my practice, all of our workshops, all of the service offerings we have, which is generally around developing digital strategies and roadmaps for organizations, we do all of this work now online. There is no longer a need for us to be in a conference room with people. Although I do miss the interaction, the physical interaction, our service has been digitized much more rapidly because of COVID. And using technology, we now do things that we didn't think were actually practical in the past. And so I focus on digital transformation, and we have cybersecurity. We do this across North America, and we're now starting to do some of this in Europe. What I love about management consulting, Gergana, is I'm a person where I'm very excited by possibilities, very excited by ideas. In the past, this has made me not stay with employers very long in my younger years, because I was always excited for the next adventure. And so when I got into consulting and into management consulting, this was a way where I can still experience all different kinds of problems, but I can do that by staying with one firm and explore the challenges and opportunities that their clients are trying to achieve or trying to reduce or eliminate. And so it's been very good for my brain, management consulting, many different challenges. I'm very passionate about the next generation of management consultants that are coming in. I played a role with some growth initiatives here in Canada that has brought some younger folks into our CMC community here in Canada. I know that Flavio and I are going to work on some initiatives as well across North America as part of the Americas Hub. And so I see the future is with the young folks, and we need to prepare for that transition and make sure that we build a community of professionals that are going to build upon the foundation that many of our CMC community globally have built, and continue to see the CMC and management consulting as something that, and an organization that adds value to our communities, value to our clients, value to our profession, and value to the public. And so I'm very passionate about that, and I'm very pleased to be here today.
It's great to hear your comments, Chris. And if we go back to digital transformation, what did you do differently, or what happened in the last 2 years? You mentioned that you have changed the way you communicate with the team, and you have plans to expand. Or could you tell us more about what were the changes, what was different, what the market has given you as an opportunity, and how you have addressed that?
Absolutely. So I think the change that I've experienced personally might be related to Bernhard and what he had said earlier around leadership. How do you lead when you've hired people 8 months ago and you've never met them in person? And how do you take leadership that is normally face-to-face and use that in digital technologies? That is something that I'm still figuring out. On the client side, what we've seen be a challenge and an opportunity is that in the past 2 years, customers' behaviors have changed. Whereas customers might traditionally come into a retail store, which is like a physical building where they sell product. Now they're online, now they're in apps, now there's curbside pickup, and customers have become very familiar and comfortable with digital channels of working with organizations. This is great for customers, a challenge for organizations that have traditionally viewed technology as being about email, our routers and our internet connections. And suddenly technology needs to be a core capability of the organization, and the organization doesn't have a way to do that and to preserve that value. And so the biggest impact is that companies maybe are struggling to understand where their customer is going to go next. Are they going to go back to the pre-COVID days, or are these digital channels going to continue to persist into the future? And so we guide them through those types of conversations. And the answer is not found in the management consultant. The answer is not found in the organization of the client. The answer is found where the customer is. And so we work with customers to help them engage with their customers so they understand how their services need to be provided and how their business model needs to integrate the transformations that were forced upon them as part of the pandemic, but integrate those into their business models so they can continue to provide the value through those digital channels and enablement. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. It's interesting. And as expected, digital transformation is not just a buzzword, but the top of the strategy. But another topic is also coming so close or equally important. Some analysts even call, and this is sustainability. Some analysts even think that sustainability is the new digital. And this is why, Tina, I hope we will not have problems with, you will not have technical problems. Could you please tell us what are the opportunities, why you have got your passion about sustainability, and why is that? What are the opportunities?
Yeah, sorry, we have had some issues here at the campus today. But so when there are challenges, there are also opportunities. And at some point, as with the technology, people were very afraid of that change. And I think that we're kind of like facing the same thing nowadays with sustainability. But as we could see, technology had the opportunity to free up creativity in people. And I think that balancing the technology and the creativity of people allows us to develop something new. And businesses have the chance to, or what they do is that they solve problems. And previously we've been solving problems for people. So hopefully in the future, we will also solve problems for the planet. So it's in my view about creating profitable solutions for people and planet, or profitable solutions for people and planet. And that brings us to balancing sustainability and profits. So saving the world without making profits doesn't make sense, because there's an economic aspect to all of this. And as I said, I think that once we've made this technological transition, it allows the foundation for us to take the next step of this evolution. So that's why I'm really interested in sustainability, because I think that it is our next step of evolving.
Mm-hmm. Okay, maybe not everybody was aware that today we have launched our CMC new competency framework. And it is great to see that sustainability knowledge and skills are present there. And this is to recognize the increasing role of consultants, which go beyond the client's relationship, but going and servicing the needs of the society. So we will be talking about sustainability and learning and doing a lot about that going forward. Maybe another area which is of great importance, and everybody touched it, is around leadership. Bernhard, why radical? Why be radical about this?
Thanks for that question. Thank you, Gergana. Well,
it's
to
not
be
marketing,
clear,
right? There is something behind it. It's not a catchy word.
To be clear, it's radical sounds quite radical. It's not what most people like. Most people hear like throwing around your judgments and like basically being the toxic person in the room when I say radical honesty, but that would be brutal honesty. I would call that brutal honesty. Radical honesty to me is about radix, the root of your awareness and being in touch with that. And that touches basically all of the things that have been mentioned before as well, like sustainability, for example. If we have leaders in a room who look for the responsibility in an area like sustainability somewhere else rather than in themselves first, and then in their teams, and then in their organization, we will not make any progress on issues of sustainability, neither digitalization. So it's a lot about taking responsibility for what I bring into the workspace and what I bring into my organization. Not in a sense that I'm to blame for everything, you know, like that could easily be understood as a blame game. Okay, now I have to take all the blame for stuff that is happening and not working, and all the people, I take on all people's problems, and that's not at all what taking responsibility is to me. It's basically staying at choice and being a stand for something when it comes to all these topics. Like, what's my stand towards sustainability in my organization? What do I want to bring into the world, into my team, into my organization? And that's, to me, that's crucial, because we're talking a lot about change, but actually changing stuff is terrifying for a lot of people. And if we don't manage our own terror when it comes to change, well, almost certainly we will be talking about sustainability in 40 years again, and nothing much will have changed. So yeah, that's my take on that.
Interesting. If we focus on our own business and how we are leading self, it's a very good transition to Brend, because Brend, your story about your personal transformation, maybe I could say, is a very good illustration of what we have been talking about that until now. Would you share it with us?
Sure, Gergana, thank you. So I just want to say I agree with Bernhard regarding the change. It's something that really terrifies humanity. And just when I had a chat with Gergana yesterday, we mentioned that, okay, we're going to go this route because ultimately I had to put my money where my mouth is. Last year when COVID hit and the economy took a dip and your business takes a dip, but now you've been consulting other business owners or startups to start a business and grow their business, and suddenly you staring down the barrel. So what basically happened, just a bit of perspective, is last year, March, the coronavirus really picked up in South Africa. And we were in March on our way to record sales, which is incredible, especially for our one division in the business, which is business plans, which is a service we do for our clients. So we basically were on our way to record sales. Coronavirus picks up 16 March. The president says state of emergency. 27th of March is a full lockdown. And within that 2-week period, our income literally dropped 64%, which was absolutely catastrophic because we were on our way to a record month. So that was the first crisis that hit my business. The second one was South Africa in that same period moved to junk status. And the problem with the service that I provide for clients and customers is, if I do a business plan, it's because you are confident you're going to get funding to start a business or to grow a business. And if you come for business coaching, it means you've got confidence in the economy that you can start a business now and it will be successful. So now the economy is in full lockdown. We go to junk status, and suddenly it's like there's nothing happening. The third thing that hits me within April, just after that, is hackers inject a virus on my website, which was terrible because now all my Google advertising was blocked and we couldn't get the virus. I got some professionals on board. I tried everything I could. And for 10 days, the Google ads were just stagnant, nothing coming in. It's equivalent to a transport company whose trucks are burned down. There's no business coming in. You can't do anything. So I was faced with those three crises at once in April. And by the grace of God, we did a record sale in April. I don't know where that came from. I have excellent systems in place to harvest the leads that's already generated. And because of that system, a lot of the old leads actually came back because the salesman was now focused on them. So in the moment where we did the record sales in April, there was two thoughts going through my mind as an entrepreneur and as somebody that would consult a client from the outside. The first thought is the market's fine. Like, if you look at the Google ads at that stage, all the competitors literally divided their market spend by half. And I'm doing a record sale on the other half, and I'm thinking, yes, but the market's fine. There's opportunity here. I see massive opportunity. By that time, I was probably the third brand in South Africa, only the third biggest. And then the second thing I thought to myself is, I can't fix the virus, so I can't get my website up and running. What good can come from this? And I thought to myself, there's an opportunity here for rebranding, but much more strategic rebranding, where I'm focusing my new brands in line with the niche markets out there. So that's when I got to a new brand, which is Business Plan Pro. And once that storm basically subsided between April and May, it was really a case of surviving, making sure you don't lose your mind, practicing what you preach, walking the walk instead of talking the talk. And then by July, I started to work with these new thoughts that I had. And I set up a brand new website strategy that's in line with my Google advertising. In August, I set up a proper sales cycle that's in line with the Google ads and with the website design. And then in September, I dug in and made sure our systems are fully virtual because of what happened with the world last year. Everything needs to go online, like Christopher mentioned. We don't have a choice at this stage. So just digging into the service delivery, the operations, making sure that thing's on par. And by October, we literally, so there's another big decision that I made. After the April record sales, I literally doubled up on my Google ad spend. So I told myself, go big or go home. This is the opportunity for me to take the market. That's what I was thinking. And I literally doubled. Where the competitors decreased by 50%, I increased by 50%. It's a very risky move. Luckily, I'm not married. There was no explanations necessary to the wife. So if I couldn't pay the bills, that was on me. And I literally doubled up on my Google ad spend. And by October, the market basically started recovering in August. And as the market recovered, I already doubled my ad spend between May, June, and July. So I was buying market territory for 3 months instead of playing the safe game. The moment the market recovered, I took the market within a couple of days and I became the #1 brand for that industry in South Africa. And that's basically what I've been dealing with a lot with my clients before this thing struck my business. And I think it was an excellent experience for me to go through that personally, because now when I consult my clients and other business owners, there's very little things, even though I'm very young, there's very little things that they bring to me in their business that I haven't seen myself and that I haven't been through myself. And I think just hindsight's perfect side, but I'm so thankful for going through that. It was terrible, but it was wonderful. It's a love-hate. And ultimately, I'm through it by the grace of God, and I'm better off with that. So that same strategy I'm implementing on my consulting business, because ultimately what happened is I worked myself out of a job with that brand. When I was there last year, November, I thought to myself, I need to do something else. And that's when I really started to intensely pursue the coaching market in South Africa, especially business coaching, which some radical things that I'm doing differently than the competitors. But basically, in a nutshell, Gergana, that's the story we spoke about yesterday.
Yeah, it's quite many lessons out there, and one of them is obviously what skills and mindset in order consultants to be successful needs to develop. And this leads me to the next question to Daniel. Daniel, you said that you're an engineer, and what it takes for an engineer to become a management consultant. Maybe it's easier now that we talk about sustainability and digital transformation. It might be easier for an engineer to adapt.
Well, it's an interesting question, actually, because engineers often love the detail. It's usually in an engineer's nature to get as far into the information as they possibly can. And actually, a few of the things and the topics that we're sort of talking about at the moment are actually extremely big picture. Digital. What does that try and break down digital in itself? Are we talking BIM models? Are we talking a system? Are we talking software? Are we talking multiple software systems? Get lost down rabbit holes, and I think one of the real key skills that will help most management consultants coming through, and particularly that I found going when I moved away from engineering design in really technical aspects, was taking that step back and really trying to look at the whole picture, but not in a series of parts and trying to put together a puzzle, actually going, what is the puzzle trying to represent? Almost like flipping the lid and looking at the picture on the box to go, what's the vision that we're trying to get to? How do we get there? How you go about solving and putting the puzzle together is entirely up to you, whether you start with the corners, find the edges, flip it over, do it backwards, do it upside down. Whatever you want to do is your approach, but you at least know the vision of what your end game is, because you've seen the box, or you've worked together to try and define that. And I think that skill set, it can be really difficult. It can be difficult for engineers. I'm sure it can be difficult for many people to take that step back and actually pause and think, what is it that I'm trying to contribute towards? What am I actually trying to achieve with the work that I'm doing? And I think if everyone along the way in any journey for any project, and Brend, I'm sure, with all of those challenges that you faced, it was very difficult to get out of the moment, and it was very difficult to get away from the emotion that you're starting to feel. But I'm sure if you could, in hindsight now, you can take a step back and actually look at the bigger picture of all of those lessons that you've learned, pull them together and put it together for other people's journeys to help them, to make them move on. And both the passion and the emotion that you bring from your lessons will help them to grow and develop further. So I think one of my top skills, if I could say to anyone, is go and think about just taking a breath, pausing, looking at what you're contributing to, whether it's sustainability, whether it's digital sustainability, whatever it is that you're bringing together, all of those things need to be contributing towards creating value. And I think that would be the second skill that I'd sort of point towards, which is actually understanding. I'm not even sure if it's a skill or whether it's just more of a tip, is the requirement to understand value. And obviously value to some people is the lowest spend. To some people, it's the best off-the-shelf product I can get. And some, it's actually what's fit for purpose. It's not the best because I don't need to have the world's best IT system. I actually need something really basic. And with that picture in mind, that strategy and vision, being able to understand value and what is the value you're trying to achieve is probably another skill or area I'd focus on. But I'd just like to take a step back actually and think of a few of the things that some of my colleagues have said in there. And I'm just going to quote each one of you just one really quickly. Chris, you said technology is important. And I know that's a simple statement, but it's actually incredibly critical to everything that we're doing as management consultants. Tina, you said solve problems for the planet, which is amazing. Think of, that's a step out in itself, and away from the detail of each of our individual challenges. Bernhard, you said change is terrifying, which completely got a smile on my face, because everything that you go through, change, change is always there. Everything that you do, change crops up. People don't realize how often they're interacting with it, but it's everything that a management consultant brings usually is about change, or some form of change. And Brend, you actually said, I see an opportunity here. And you said it a few times. And I thought that was a fantastic sort of point to make in all of those areas that everyone's sort of talked about. You've managed to bring in your own passions, but also some of the key skills that we need just in the way that you're speaking. So some of the other things that I sort of had flagged beyond value and strategic thinking is that, and for those that are on the call, and it's hard for me to sort of get a gauge on where, you know, what age demographic we're talking to, whether we're talking to clients, whether everyone on the call is a management consultant, or whether you're actually thinking of becoming a management consultant. But in the interest of focusing on a younger generation and encouraging the younger generation towards management consultants, I'd sort of point to the fact that management consultant is so broad and so diverse. You can always find a topic that you're going to be interested in. You can always find something that you would like to challenge yourself with. But I think it's for business leaders and for managers and those that are already consultants to identify that people within businesses are already management consultants in their own right. They just may not know it yet. They're part of a team, they're contributing, they're solving problems, they're working with their colleagues, and all of those things translate across to management consulting, where you just have to have a leap of faith, I suppose, to know that your opinion is valued. You do have experiences that will contribute to getting to the end destination. And I think that we all have a responsibility to actually try and identify that within our colleagues, whether they're pure engineers focused on a very specific drain in a road and saying, actually, no, you could be a management consultant. You just need to apply your lessons to somebody else's problem. So I'll leave it there for a minute because I'd like to invite my colleagues to actually join in with any of their skills.
Yes.
I mean, the one that I haven't highlighted is the biggest one, in my view, which is adaptability and flexibility. But I think everyone's already talked about that. Change is terrifying, but you need to be adaptable.
Daniel, it's so pleasing to see somebody doing a job which you should do. I mean, in this case, I should have done to recap what everybody has said. So you did it. It's so a great way that you. Thank you for doing that. We are right on time, and I see many positive comments in the chat. Thank you for Randy Baldwin. What a great panel. It's an interesting comment by Sunil Ambro, being detached is key skill for a management consultant. I just wonder maybe if anyone wants to comment. Bernhard, would you like to comment on that? It seems like in your area.
Sure, I'd love to. I really appreciate that comment. Thank you, Sunil. To me, being detached has a lot to do with managing our egos, and especially young management consultants, I imagine, have a big ego. Taking it with us, being the next generation, whatever, like all the phrases that we keep hearing. And it's of course not limited to the young generation. I see lots of big, bold egos running around everywhere I go. And the thing is, what are you up to? What do you actually want to do? Daniel, you said it so beautifully. What do you want to contribute, actually? And the moment you focus on contribution and what it is actually that you want to bring into the world is also the moment where ego gets a little less important every time you focus on it. And I imagine a world where we get together with a bit of diminished egos and a bit more community and vulnerability as a like what you call it, like a trade-off, basically. So that's the other side of the coin, a bit more community and then actual change. I think that's the upside of putting your ego aside and being a bit more detached than than we sometimes are.
I agree with that. I agree, Sunil, as well, with being detached is a key skill. I think detachment in my mind. Oh, sorry, Tina, I see you've got your hand up. So I should throw over to you, but
that's fine. I can talk in a while.
Okay.
I was just going to say, so to me, the detachment actually links in with the adaptability and the flexibility. If you can't, and again, taking that step back, if you can't take a step back and let go of one of your ideas, or you may think that you've come up with the ultimate solution that is going to fit everyone's problems or challenges. You definitely need to be able to take a step back and hear your clients' needs and hear their wants and go back to that vision board. And I don't know whether it's detachment or flexibility. I mean, I suppose one's kind of detached could be considered motionless in some senses, but I think you can still be emotional about the things that you're talking about or the ideas that you have, so long as you're willing to, yes, let go and be flexible on what the actual end solution is, so it meets all parties.
Okay, Tina, you were going to share?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, again, linking back to management consulting, management consultants usually collaborate. And if we think about it, collaboration creates, whereas competition selects. And it's not, we have like, kind of like, in my opinion, a flawed thought where we think that it's the strongest that survive. But that's not actually true. It's the most adaptive and resilient that survive. And in order to get there, we need to collaborate to create new things. And I think that this links really nicely back to what all of the colleagues have said here, but kind of like putting words to this. And it might be really hard for managers to collaborate with people they might traditionally or in certain areas be in competition with. And it is, in my opinion, our job to find the collaboration opportunities so that they can create together. Because even though you might be in competition, there are also certain areas where you are in collaboration. So I think that that's kind of like a really important learning for us to have. And it is our role as we can move along different organizations, different areas. So we're kind of like cross-functional. And that has a huge advantage. And we should utilize it even more.
Okay, maybe I see more positive messages, like storytelling based on the experience is great, and also Brendan Williams is like taking up the quotes from colleagues. More community. This is what. Okay, Daniel, why don't you share that instead of me reading? Or
yeah, of course. I was just saying to both, actually, Tina and Brendan put it in the chat. The idea of collaboration and community is the ICMCI is a community. It's an international one. We should be able to, and we should be willing to share both our learnings and our failures across all areas. It's not just engineers to engineers or management consultants to management consultants. It should be all parties. Really showing what we can. And I mean, the internet's a fantastic way of doing that, but you can get lost in the depths, I suppose, and you never know what's a good way. But I think one of those particular digital transformations that happened, and Chris touched on it as well, of COVID sort of forcing some businesses to take up technology which drives a virtual connection, and that virtual connection actually should really be leading us to more international sharing. I mean, look at the spread of diverse nations that we have just on the panel, let alone those that have attended this session. There's nothing that would stop this community right here from being able to share in lessons and experiences that then they could take away and apply to their own particular problems.
Yeah, Gergana, I'd just add as well, Sunil's comment, like pragmatism and detachment is certainly important as a management consultant. Because we need to be able to see things clearly, which is sometimes why clients struggle to navigate the situations they're in, is because they're in the forest, right? They can't see the forest from the trees. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be committed, right? And that doesn't mean that we need to be removed from a pragmatism, but we need to be committed. And I feel when we talk about Tina and Daniel's topic and Brent and Bernhard, what we're talking about as well as like a purpose. Right, organizations like our clients, our professional community of CMC with globally, like purpose is something that I feel a lot of organizations still lack. we want to grow to be this amount of money in the next 5 years. It's like, that's our strategic goal. It's like, well, this is not a strategic goal. This is like, why do you want to grow? How are you going to improve your community? How are you going to improve the day-to-day experience for your employees and your team members, for your clients, for yourself? And so when I look at our community of CMC professionals globally, just as when I look at the employees and the team members that work for me in our organization, purpose is something that I think needs to be found, because when we have a purpose, we can commit mutually to achieving that purpose for our clients, for our organizations, for ourselves, and for our CMC professional community. And that creates the opportunity to have that alignment, to have that focus, that collaboration. It gives all of that a reason to happen. And so purpose, I won't say I know the answers as to how to find this exactly. It's still a bit of a thing that we're all learning, but I feel that purpose in personal life, in business, with clients is very key to driving alignment and focused action so that we can achieve the mutually beneficial outcomes as opposed to the individualistic outcomes that are possible.
Okay. Thank you to everyone. I think all of you have mentioned in one way or another why you would like to continue with the ICMCI Future Leaders Forum. But could you please maybe elaborate a bit on that more? And if you talk to peers or your friends, how you would explain why you want to join and contribute to this network?
I can go first.
ICMCI Future Leaders Network.
Yeah, sure, I could go first. For me, I'm in Canada, and it's very easy to see the world from a Canada perspective, right? One of the most pleasant experiences I had was attending the conference in Barbados, or down in the Bahamas, attending the conference where I got to meet like Lydia and Soren and Jan and the crew. And I got to meet all of these international people who brought experiences that I had not even thought existed, right? And so for me, being part of a community is not just about our age. I do think I'm the oldest of the young ones on the panel, but it's not about our age. It's more about like, what can we share and learn from each other? Like maybe there's things happening in Canada that would expand opportunities for Brend in South Africa, for example, and cross-pollinating. I think our experiences is important so that it broadens the perspective we have globally, and maybe there's practices we can bring into our own local geographies that'll add benefit to our clients and ourselves and our firms and our societies. And so like I look at the work Tina's doing, and this is a very big topic and a very important topic for the younger generation around sustainability, and it does tie into technology, because a lot of our cloud facilities that provide cloud services are not exactly the most environmentally friendly. And so how do we make technology an enabler in some areas, but not a destructive force in other areas? These are important conversations that I think we need to have as a global community, and not just constrained to our local geographies in our nations. So that's what I would say.
I can continue. So I think that there's a lot of knowledge within youth. If we already think about the younger generation also that is coming after us, they have a completely different education. I'm sitting now with future leaders, and we've had walks in nature. We're meditating, we're doing completely different things than even I was doing when I was having my leadership training. And Bernhard has talked about like things that he's doing now. There are no such things as soft skills. The technology has changed, but at the same time, the older generation of management consultants has so much experience, and we need to bring all of this together and bridge it. And then if you add, as was mentioned here, kind of like all of the fragments that we have in different countries, different regions, different industries, if we're going to solve the challenges of the future and the challenges that we're facing today, we need to bring all of this existing knowledge together, while also being very creative in order to solve issues that don't yet have an answer. But we need to start with bringing it together. And I think that it's not only the responsibilities to stand on the barricades and say that it was the older generation who created these problems. It's also our responsibility to consider how we can help them act in a different way, because we haven't ended up in this situation. I don't believe that anyone wanted to harm the planet or the people or whatever. It was just that we didn't have a full understanding of the consequences, and now we need to solve it together. So we also as youth have a responsibility of bridging all of these things and bringing it together, and not only like wave the finger and blame people. It's not really helpful. And not blame technology either for not having all of the answers, or engineers or anyone else.
Okay. Any other comments, or we should go to try to close the. Daniel,
I'm happy to chime in, and apologies if I do repeat anything. I just had an internet drop, so I was very fluctuating in and out. But for myself, the reason why I want to sort of continue to be engaged in these sorts of forums, and whether it's a ICMCI or just general future leaders forums, is because I think if we don't put the effort in now, and if we don't put the effort in while we are younger, to actually sort of engage, one, with our peers, and two, with the generation above, who actually have quite a lot of insights and learnings to pass on, then we will miss out, and all of a sudden we won't be the younger generation ourselves, and we'll be trying to bring the next young generation along. And you know, the more that we can have sort of an established practice of that sort of collaboration and sharing embedded, whether it's a committee or even just a fortnightly call, whatever it may be that we can set up to sort of start that engagement now, is something that can actually contribute to a lasting legacy of ongoing engagement between the next generation of young management consultants that's going to come in and sort of, you know, be a bit of a push to continue that journey into the future, rather than it going by the wayside, I suppose.
Okay, thank you. So as we have come at the end of our session, I would like to thank you all. If I have to share why what I love most about consulting is one of the things is to meet and interact with talented and great people like all of you. So thank you for the excellent session, and I see that the comments in the chat are continue to be very positive. Allow me also at the end to invite everybody who has not heard about the initiative yet, that you can join, and you can ask or just write an email to the ICMCI email, which will be uploaded in the chat. And don't forget, I have a reminder here, don't forget to fill in the evaluation form for the session. So thank you, everyone. This is just the start of the ICMCI Future Leaders Forum, and stay tuned for more from these and other talented people around the world very soon. Thank you, everyone.